Hare Krishna, Pavitra Madhuri Mataji, Danvat Pranama, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Gurudev. This is Radha from Baltimore.
Hare Krishna, Radha Mataji, Danvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and all glories to Guru Maharaj. This is Srinivas and Lavanya from Dallas Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Srinivas Prabhuji and Lavanya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining.
Mataji, we can have more introduction. People, devotees can introduce.
Okay, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. This is Manasi Ganga from Chicago. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev.
Hare Krishna, Manasi Ganga Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining, Mataji.
Good morning, Mataji. Hare Krishna. This is Flavia from Atlanta. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Assembled Devotee. This is Mohini Lakshmi from Detroit.
Hare Krishna Mohini Lakshmi Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Radha Damodar Das and Ratnamaya from Austin, Texas. Please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Guru Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to all the simple devotees. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Radha Damodar Prabhuji and Atmaya Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna, is there anyone else who wants to introduce?
Hare Krishna Mataji, please accept our humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj and the assembled devotees. This is Dinabandhu Gurudas and all glories to Srila Prabhupada, I'm sorry. And Lalita Devi Dasi from Sandy Ridge. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dinabandhu Prabhuji and Lalita Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Pavitra Madhavi Mataji, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada and all the assembled devotees. This is Indu from Lincoln.
Hare Krishna, Indu Mataji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. Thank you so much for joining, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Maharaj has not joined yet. So if there is no one to introduce, so we can chant meanwhile till Maharaj joins.
Yeah, we can chant Mataji, and if anybody wants to sing Jai Radha Madhav, they can sing. We can continue chanting Mataji.
Okay, sure, Mataji.
Devotees can unmute.
Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Ram 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 Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
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 Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare Ram,
Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Krishna
Hare Ram,
Hare Ram 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 Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Ram 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 Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Rama, Hare Rama, Rama
Hare
Rama,
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Ram Ram Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Ram
Ram
Ram
Ram
Hare
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 Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
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 Krishna,
Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Hare Ram
Krishna
Hare Ram Ram
Ram Ram Ram Ram
Ram Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita
Ram Ram
Gadadhara
Hare
Srivas
Krishna
Gaur
Krishna
Gaur
Krishna
Premanandi
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare Hare
Krishna,
Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna Hare
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 Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Ram,
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare Ram
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Hare
Ram
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 Hare
Ram
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 Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare Hare Hare
Ram
Ram Hare
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram Hare
Krishna
Ram Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
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 Hare Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram 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 Ram
Ram
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna
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 Hare
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram Hare
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare
Ram
Ram Hare
Ram
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 Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram Ram
Ram
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare Krishna
Krishna
Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare
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 Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna
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 Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare
Krishna Krishna Ram Ram
Hare Krishna Hare
Ram
Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare
Hare
Ram Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare Krishna
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 Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram 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 Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare
Ram
Krishna, Hare
Ram
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram,
Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna 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 Hare Ram 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 Ram
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Hare
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Hare Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram, Ram
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Ram Ram
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna, Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram, Hare
Krishna
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna
Hare
Hare
Ram
Ram,
Ram
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 Ram,
Hare
Hare Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Hare Hare Ram Hare Ram Ram Ram
Hare
Hare Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
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 Hare
Hare
Ram,
Hare
Ram Ram,
Ram
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 Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Krishna Hare
Krishna.
Krishna 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 Hare
Ram
Hare
Ram
Ram Hare
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna.
Hare Hare Krishna Hare
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare
Ram,
Hare
Hare
Ram Hare
Krishna
Ram Ram
Krishna.
Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Ram
Krishna Hare 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 Ram Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram
Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Hare Ram, Ram
Hare
Ram
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Hare Ram,
Ram
Ram
Hare
Ram,
Ram,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Hare
Krishna
Ram, Hare Ram,
Chaitanya
Ram Ram,
Charita
Hare
Vishnu.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Hare Ram,
Ram
Hare
Krishna
Ram,
Hare
Ram
Krishna
Krishna,
Ram,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna, Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare
Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Ram
Rama,
Ram,
Rama
Hare
Rama,
Krishna,
Hare
Krishna, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Krishna, Ram Ram, Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita
Hare
Gadadhar Shri
Ram,
Krishna Krishna Hare Ram 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Ram Hare
Hare Rama, Hare
Ram Ram Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Ram Krishna Krishna
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Ram
Hare
Ram
Rama,
Ram
Krishna
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna
Hare
Krishna
Rama,
Hare Ram Hare Krishna
Krishna Mataji.
Yes, ma'am.
Mataji, Akshata wants to sing Jai Radha Mata.
Okay, Mataji. Yeah, sure. Yeah, please, Kshita, please go ahead. Krishna.
Akshata, are you there?
Yes, Mataji.
Can you, I can't see you. Okay, yeah, now I can see you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana
Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Yamuna Tiravanachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadari
Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Welcome to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Guru Maharaj. So thank you so much Maharaj for giving a valuable association and time. So thank you Akshita for singing so beautifully. Thank you Maharaj for giving your association. So now I would like to hand over the call to you Maharaj. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
So I was instructed, or at least communicated, that today's talk is on Narottam Das Thakur. Is just correct?
Yes, Maharaj. Today's topic is the glories of Srila Narottam Das Thakur.
Okay. Om Gyantimidandasya Gyanajana Salakaya Chaksu Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Sunyavari Pastyatya Desatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vaibhacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So some of you who are online today heard my talk 2 days ago on our regular conference about the disappearance of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. So I will be repeating some of that, but we will also be speaking some of the pastimes that were not mentioned in the first session. So to begin, this is of course a very deep subject. Narottam Das Thakur is he's known as Mahasai. He is a very special and great personality. His appearance in the world was predicted by Lord Chaitanya before he actually arrived. And that was illustrated by one particular pastime where Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda were traveling in the area known today as Bangladesh. And there was one river that they came to, it was the Padma River. When Lord Chaitanya came to the Padma River, he started to go into a type of ecstasy where he started to call out the name of Narottam over and over again, just chanting Narottam, Narottam, Narottam. Lord Nityananda had heard previously Lord Chaitanya mentioning the name of Narottam, but now he became really curious. And he said, "My dear Lord, who is this Narottam that you speak of?" Lord Chaitanya responded, "You know my heart is Kirtan. And so soon there will be a great personality who will appear in the world, who will revolutionize the whole style of Kirtan. And he will bring Kirtan to a higher and more glorious expression." And so this person is Narottam. The word Naro refers to human, like the word Nara. Nara refers to man or human. And Tam means the best. So his name actually means the best of all personalities. In his, we'll just mention that he is actually a very intimate associate of the Lord in the spiritual world named Champak Manjari. And he does personal assistance for Srimati Radharani and for the other gopis as he cooks milk He makes milk preparations and cooks milk. That's his service in the spiritual world. Of course, he may do other things, but this is what we know him as. Narottam Das Thakur, his life is written in a beautiful book called Narottam Vilas, done by Bhatni Ratnakara. It's in a book called Bhatni Ratnakara. Also, there's two books, Bhatni Ratnakara and Narottam Vilas. Both have extensive writings of the pastimes and glories of Narottam Das Thakur. And this, of course, it was written by Srila Narahari Chakravarti, whose father was an intimate disciple of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Back to the Padma River with Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya then took his bath in the Padma River. And when he took his bath in the Padma River started to become very turbulent. And then the Lord actually spoke to the personification of Padma and said, very soon there will be a great personality who will come and he will bathe in your waters. So I'm leaving my own Krishna Prema in your waters. And when he comes, give him that Krishna Prema. Padma responded by saying, how will I know who that is? And Lord Chaitanya said, when he comes, your waters will also be turbulent, like my appearance in your waters. And then Lord Chaitanya finished his bath. Lord Chaitanya disappeared in the year 1534, and Narottam Das Thakur appeared in the year 1535 as the son of Krishnananda Dutt, and his mother's name was Narayani. He also had an older brother named Purushottam Dutt. He was born in a royal family. Krishnananda Dutt was the king of the local province, and so they had some wealth and also some influence. After the child was born, both mother and father were very satisfied. And Narottam was unlike other children. He hardly spoke, and he never cried. This is mentioned in his biography that he never cried as a baby. After some time, of course, we know in Vedic culture and tradition, there is the name-giving ceremony and also the grain-giving ceremony. So they performed both of these ceremonies together. And Krishnananda was so enthusiastic, he called all the residents from all around the local area to come and take part in this wonderful ceremony. And people came from everywhere. And it was a grand festival with many decorations and so many people coming. There were singers, there were dancers, there were eulogizers. There was just a grand festival. Being a king, he wanted to glorify his son in the most, what we say, opulent way. And so now everything was set for the name-giving and grain-giving ceremony. So when it came to the grain-giving ceremony, everything was in place. And then the first grains are always given either by the priest or by the father. The mother holds the child generally. Of course, Narottam didn't have to be held. He wasn't that kind of baby where he was squirming around. He was very peaceful. And so his father went to offer the grains, but as soon as he brought the spoon with the sweet rice to his mouth, Narottam turned the other way, refusing it. His father became concerned and tried to give him the grains in so many ways, and each time Narottam refused to accept it. His father became overwhelmed with sadness and unhappiness and felt everything is auspicious, the whole ceremony is a failure. And he was lamenting And everyone else was wondering what will be next. And finally, one Brahmana, old Brahmana, somewhat of a sage, he was there. He said, "You can't give him that because it is not Mahaprasadam. He will only take Mahaprasadam." So they took the pot of sweet rice and brought it to the deities, offered it to the deity, and brought it back, and again offered the sweet rice to Narottam. This time he willingly accepted the prasadam. As he was growing up, he was hearing about Lord Chaitanya. He would lament the fact that he missed having the association of Lord Chaitanya. So there was one old Brahmin, his name was Krishna Das, and he came to meet Narottam every day, and he would tell the pastimes of Gaur Lila. This would cause Narottam to cry in separation. But he was also very much absorbed in hearing and thinking about Lord Chaitanya. He was able to remember everything he had heard from this Brahmin, and Narottam's intelligence was really beyond any normal intelligence. He actually became a great scholar and started to read the scriptures and also started to speak the scriptures to his friends and others, although he was still a young boy. When later he was told about Srinivasacharya, Gangadas Bhattacharya, who later became Chaitanya Das. Srinivasacharya became the disciple of Gopal Bhatta Goswami, and also Jiva Goswami. One time he visited Vishram Murgat and learned about Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis. Narottam developed this strong desire to serve Srinivasacharya. Sometime as he heard the pastimes of Srinivasacharya, it really attracted his heart, and he was thinking, I must meet this great personality. Of course, his parents were quite wealthy, and they were also seeing he was quite restless. He wasn't interested in anything of this material world, especially any plans for getting married. He was always simply absorbed in hearing the glories of the Lord, speaking the glories of the Lord. His parents were observing him, and he was exhibiting great elements and ecstasies, of characteristics of ecstasies. And his parents thought, I think we should get him married. Finally, at the age of 12, Lord Nityananda came to him in a dream and told him, go to the Padma River. And in that dream, he embraced him, and he entered the heart of little Narottam. Narottam wasn't able to freely move because his parents, similar to Raghunath Das Goswami, used to guard him very carefully. But one time his father was away on some business and his mother was there. So somehow he tricked his mother into letting him go out, and she somehow or other allowed him, and therefore he got away. And then of course he went to the Padma River. When he got to the Padma River, he bathed in that river, and immediately the river became turbulent. Narottam Das Thakur's complexion was somewhat darkish, but after bathing in the river and receiving the prema of Lord Chaitanya delivered by the personification of Padma, his body turned into gold, just like Lord Chaitanya. He had a beautiful golden complexion. Right after that, Lord Chaitanya appeared to him and told him to go to Vrindavan, like that. And then, of course, when he went to Vrindavan, he was able to meet Srinivasacharya Jiva Goswami and another great personality named Shamananda Pandit. This part of the pastime we won't speak about because it's very long and it mostly involves Srinivasacharya. But while they were traveling, Srinivasacharya instructed Narottam to go to Ketrigram and preach there. Ketrigram was his home. He had left it. His father, after some time, departed from the world, and his brother Purushottam became the king, and he had a cousin whose name was Santosh Dutt, like that. And Santosh Dutt was also very inclined to Krishna consciousness. But that was due to the fact that Narottam actually preached to him. So Srinivasacharya had sent Narottam to Ketrigram, and he sent Shamananda onto Utkala, and he stayed in the kingdom of Virambir and preached to the king there. And that's a wonderful story that we can talk about. After some time, Lord Chaitanya appeared to him again and told him, go to Vrindavan. Go to Jagannath Puri. Go to Jagannath Puri. He sent Narottam. So when Narottam was traveling to Jagannath Puri, he met Achyutananda, the son of Advaita, and he visited Ambikan Kalanya, where he met Hridoy Chaitanya. At Kadarhar, he met Mahesh Pandit, an intimate associate of Lord Nityananda. And he also worshipped the feet of Janava-Devi. When he met Janava-Devi, of course, everybody knew that there was this great person, Narottam, who was traveling. And everyone was thinking, when will he arrive? So it's practically, didn't have to introduce himself to anybody. When he would arrive, they immediately came to greet him and honor him and give him all facility. And Janava-Devi also. Janava-Devi blessed him. Janava-Devi was the wife of Lord Nityananda. She was a incarnation of the internal potency of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, who has appeared as the wife of Lord Nityananda. And she said to him, you will make the whole world Krishna conscious. And then, of course, after that, he went on his way to Jagannath Puri. And he was followed by thousands of people. They became automatically attracted to him. Finally, he came to the area of Jagannath Puri, and right on the outskirts, he met an old Brahmana and the Brahmana said, we've been waiting for you. So that Brahmin took him to a place called Narendra Sarovar, where he bathed and he remembered Lord Chaitanya's Leela. There were three great personalities, Gopinathacharya, Kanai Kuntiya, and Sikhi Mahiti. When Narottam came into Jagannath Puri, all three of them, without even seeing Narottam, all started to have ecstatic feelings of joy. And then they started to speak amongst themselves, and then they understood this great personality must have appeared. When he came, they met him and took him for his first darshana at the Guru Stamba in the Jagannath temple, where he received the garland. Then he went on tour to the place of Tota Gopinath, the deity that was worshipped by Gadadhar, near the seashore. And also he went to see the Samadhi of Srila Haridas Thakur. He was taken to the house of Gopinathacharya and given a special room. So that night when he tried to fall asleep, he couldn't. He was feeling great love. And then he dozed off, and in his dream, he saw pure Puri in its full glory. And in that glory, he saw the cart festival of Lord Jagannath with Lord Chaitanya dancing in ecstasy during the festival. After staying in Jagannath Puri, Lord Chaitanya came to him and took him by the hand and spoke sweetly to him. This was in a dream, and told him, now you develop this new style of kirtan, but you should also go to Ketrigram and preach. And then the dream vanished. On his way, he saw the same old Brahmana who greeted him when he first came, and he served him very nicely. He came to Nishringapuri, the place of Shamananda, and he was embraced and spoke Krishna Katha. And then, of course, Shamananda told him many things about Krishna consciousness. So he was traveling around visiting different places. Finally, he stopped in Jajigram, and again he met with Srinivasacharya. Again. And of course, Lord Chaitanya, assistants, and others, Gadadhar Pandit was still there and told him, go to Ketrigram. On his way to Ketrigram, he stopped in the place of of Lord Nityananda's appearance at Ketrigram. And he was chanting Lord Nityananda's name in great love while he was on his way. When he came to the outskirts of Ekachakra, an old Brahmana came to meet him and said, I have come to show you the holy places of Ekachakra. I heard you were coming. And of course, he showed him the old places where Adai Pandit, the father of Nityananda, fell down in ecstasy when Lord Nityananda had left. The place where Padmavati cried in ecstasy and cried in unhappiness after losing Lord Nityananda. And then he showed him so many other places there. But at one point, that old Brahmin disappeared. And then he felt separation. All of a sudden, the old Brahmana was gone. And then the old Brahmana reappeared. And in this reappearance, he came in the form of Lord Balaram. And then after appearing to Narottam as Lord Balaram, he changed his form to Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda said, you are my best devotee. Return to Ketrigram and compose songs and chant kirtan. Finally, he arrived in Ketrigram. Of course, on his way, he met one person who had a go down. He was a rich man. He says, I have a deity of Vishnu Priya in my go down, but I cannot go down there because there are many snakes, and I want to get that deity. Narottam said, I will go. The merchant said, no, don't go. The snakes will, there are many snakes down there. I think they are all poisonous. But Narottam went anyway. He found the deity, and then as soon as he found the deity, all the snakes left. There are many, many wonderful stories. Of course, when he came to Ketrigram, this was after some time. There was a beautiful festival that was arranged by Davey, where she had invited the devotees from Jagannath Puri, from Navadvip, from Sri Vrindavan Dham, to come together to honor the disappearance of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the first Gaur Purnima festival, where the devotees were able to all come together as a large group. In that festival, there was a kirtan hall erected by Santosh Dutt. He was the cousin of Narottam, and he gave his entire treasury for the festival. He erected a kirtan hall, residence for all the devotees, and a place where they could keep all the bhoga. Just before that, after associating with Srinivasacharya, Srinivasacharya had a very dear disciple. He was his main disciple. His name was Ramachandra. Ramachandra Kaviraj, actually. And Ramachandra Kaviraj, after meeting Narottam, and Narottam after meeting Ramachandra, you hear in the beautiful song, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Doya Gaura Mohan. At the very last line of the song, Aha Prabhu Srinivasa, Ramachandra Sangamange Narottam Das. It says that these two personalities were like two souls in one body. They developed such love and attachment for each other that they didn't want to separate. How Ramachandra became a disciple, I think I should tell that story. It's very instructive. Srinivasacharya was there with many of his followers, and there was a wedding procession. In that wedding procession, it was a grand procession, and of course, and we all know in these grand wedding processions, the bridegroom is dressed up very nicely like a king. And so he's there, and Srinivas was there with his disciples. When he saw the wedding procession, he started to speak to his disciples. He said he is about to put a noose around his neck. Somehow or other, that got back to Ramachandra, and he became shocked. Actually, it says in one place, he actually heard Srinivas speak that. Somehow or other, his whole mind changed, and right in the middle of the wedding ceremony, he gave up the whole idea and came to Srinivas, fell at his feet, and said, I want to become your disciple. And so Srinivas was so pleased by this person's devotion and his surrender that he took him and taught him as one of his principal disciples. And later, he gave him to Narottam as a personal associate. So they became inseparable. Of course, Ramachandra Kaviraj had another brother whose name was Govinda Kaviraj. Govinda Kaviraj, we could also speak about his life, but I'll just mention the fact that he composed that wonderful song that we sing sometimes. Let me see if I can remember the song by Govinda Kaviraj. It's a song, let me think of that song. It's penned by a person named Govinda Das, but that is the brother of let's see. I can remember that song. Like a lotus leaf, like a drop on the lotus leaf. This life is. Does anyone remember that song?
Is it Bhaja Huremana Maharaj?
Yeah, Bhaja Huremana Sri Nanda Nandana. Bhaja Huremana Sri Nanda Nandana. Vaya Charana Vindure. Dulaba Manava Satsange. Beautiful song by Govinda Kaviraj. He was a worshipper of Durga. Durga Devi was his worshipable deity. But after his brother became a deity, a devotee of Krishna, he wasn't interested at all. He said, what is this Krishna consciousness? I'm a follower of Durga. But then after some time, Durga appeared to him in a dream and said, you're a rascal. You should actually follow your brother because he is on the right path. And so he did. Because when your Istadeva, your worshipful deity, appears to you and says, worship this way, it becomes complete. That festival, we described it in detail just a couple of days ago. But it was a beautiful festival where Narottam Das Thakur sang, so sweetly with a pair of kartals. There were 14 mridangas and 7 other kartal players. The kirtan was set, and Narottam so sweetly, with so much devotion, was singing and singing and singing. And gradually the kirtan became deeper and deeper and deeper. Then Narottam started to dance, and then everyone danced. Finally, the kirtan started to rise, and the energy was increasing more and more and more. Narottam very absorbed in singing sweetly and dancing so gracefully. And then all of a sudden the mridangas chimed in, and the kartals chimed in, and the kirtan became tumultuous as Narottam very much focused on the holy name, just kept singing and singing. Finally, after some time, Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas, and all of the associates of Lord Chaitanya who had left the planet reappeared in that kirtan and started to dance. This reappearance was not a vision, it was an actual physical manifestation of their appearance. Everyone saw them, and everyone went mad simply by seeing them. And Lord Chaitanya was dancing and dancing and dancing. And Narottam was absorbed in singing so sweetly as the kirtan only got higher and more ecstatic. Finally, this went on for so long, people were rolling on the ground, and the kirtan was getting higher and higher and higher. And people who were there, they saw their relatives. Advaitacharya's son, Achyutananda, was there, and he saw his father once again. Raghunanda Thakur saw his father, Mukunda. And many of the great souls who had disappeared, Narahari Sakar, they all appeared in that kirtan. It was beautiful. Finally, after appearing for quite some time, as described in this narration, Lord Chaitanya, with all his disciples, within 1 second, disappeared. And of course, everyone fell to the ground in separation as soon as that happened. This was a beautiful, beautiful festival. Later on, of course, there was also, it describes that Janava began a holy festival. So there was throwing of the colors, and that followed the kirtan. After that, Janava prepared a beautiful feast using all the boga that was available, and they had so much. She served everyone, then she served the service. It says the prasadam was like nectar, and everyone took more than they normally take. They took huge amounts of prasadam. Srinivas, after some time, seeing Janava serving everybody and just becoming everyone's servant, he came to her and said, "My dear Mataji, my dear Janava Devi, please take prasadam." She didn't want to, but finally he encouraged her. Next day, there were more kirtans created by the new type of style called Gora Nahati. That was the name of the style that he developed. It's called Gora Nahati. And after some time, Janava left the next day, and devotees went into different places. Narottam and Ramachandra stayed together. Srinivas also departed, and Ramachandra started to travel. As they were traveling, they came to one area and they saw 2 boys, 2 young boys, and they were herding goats. And so they came up near the boys, and Ramachandra started to speak philosophy. The boys, somehow, they were young boys, just maybe 6, 7 years old. They started to listen. And as they heard Ramachandra speak this deep philosophical teachings about Krishna, their hearts became transformed. And they said, "We want to become your disciples." And Ramachandra said, "Sure." And then he named one of them One was named Hari Rama, and the other was named Hari Krishna. One became a disciple of Ramachandra, and the other one, Narottam. Now there was a problem. These boys were herding these goats for their father, whose name was Shivaya Acharya, who worshipped the goddess Bhavani. And these goats were meant for sacrifice. When they became Krishna conscious, when they became blessed by these great personalities, they let the animals free. When their father found out, he became very angry. And so he said, what is this Vaishnavism? What is this Vaishnavism? And then he said, well, he hired one person whose name was Murari Digvijaya to say, we might say, deprogram his children. But when the children were challenged, they defeated, first they defeated their father, and then they defeated Murari Digvijaya. When Shivayacharya saw that these two boys, who were just his children, who were young, was able to defeat this great Digvijaya in a debate, he became depressed and finally he surrendered to Narottam Das Thakur. So this went on. Narottam Das Thakur started to travel, and he would, everywhere he was going, he was meeting different personalities. Finally, he met one great personality, Rupa Narayan Pandit. No, I'm sorry, not he is Ganga Narayan Pandit. Ganga Narayan Pandit. Ganga Narayan Pandit was one of the main scholars in the area, but he was a Smarta Brahmin. After meeting Narottam Das and speaking with him, he appreciated his scholarship, and immediately he surrendered and became a disciple of Narottam. Now, Narottam was born in a Kayastha family. He wasn't a Brahmana. He was at best a Kshatriya. Sometimes he's also seen as a Sudra. And Narottam appeared to him in the dream and said, I will meet you tomorrow. So they came, and then he actually initiated Ganga Narayan into Krishna consciousness. When the Brahmins heard, the local Brahmins who were Smarta Brahmins, they were starting to hear about this person, Narottam, who was going around and converting Brahmins into Vaishnavas. And they became aghast. And they said, who is he? He's only a Kayastha Sudra. What is he? How can he initiate Brahmins? What is his philosophy? So the Brahmins became very angry and decided to do something. So they complained to the king, the area, and the king became concerned. So they made a plan to defeat Narottam. So they got one Pandit, whose name was Rupa Narayan Pandit, and along with these Brahmanas, they were on their way to the place of Narottam. Now the word got back to Ganga Narayan Pandit and also Ramachandra Kamiraj. And they were thinking, well, they're going to come and challenge our spiritual master. We're going to meet them first. So they took the disguise of a betel seller and a clay pot seller. And they set up their betel and clay pots along the road where the king and these Brahmanas were traveling along with Rupa Narayan Pandit. So at one point, they said, well, we'll stop and get some betel from these sellers here and some clay pots. So they stopped. And when they started to speak to the clay pot seller and the betel seller, who were disciples of Narottam, they responded in pure Sanskrit. And the king, along with the Brahmins, were shocked. A betel nut seller and a clay pot seller is speaking pure Sanskrit? Well, who are you? we are disciples of Narottam Das Thakur. You have to debate us first before you will debate our. So the king said to his men, Rupa Narayan, he said, so they debated, and Ramachandra, Kaviraj, and Ganga Narayan destroyed these Brahmanas along with Rupa Narayan Pandit, who was one of the best Pandits in the era. He was a smarter Brahmin, of course. And the king, he said, this is amazing. These are the disciples of Narottam Das, and you've been defeated. You want to defeat Narottam? So let us give up this idea. So they left. So the Brahmins left. Now, one of the leaders of the Brahmins, he got a nice little visit. In that visit, Bhavani, who is an expansion of Durga, appeared to him in a dream and said, surrender to Narottam or I'll kill you. And she was really angry. So the leader of the Brahmins and all the Brahmins, they came to Narottam Das Thakur at Ketrigram, and they learned Sanskrit and they surrendered to Narottam. This is the good way to preach. You appear in someone's dream and threaten them, and if they don't surrender. So the king's wife, whose name was Rupa Mala, she was attracted to Narottam and she surrendered. And then she started to chant 1 lakh of names, and also the names of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Shringadev. There's another beautiful story about one famous dacoit whose name is Hari Chandra Roy. He was a famous dacoit. He heard about Narottam, and all the dacoits in the area were his servants. Bhavani had appointed a Rakshaka ghost to haunt him. But somehow or other, he became attracted to Narottam Das Thakur, and he surrendered to Narottam. The king was always trying to capture Hari Chandra Roy, but he couldn't. So now, after becoming a devotee of Narottam, his whole life changed. He gave up his activities as a dacoit, became a wonderful devotee. And then Narottam instructed him, I think you should go and meet the king. So the king was a Yavana. And as soon as he came to meet the king had him arrested. And he also had him beaten. But he didn't at all he felt that this is due to my sinful activities. I'm getting the results of his activities. He focused his mind on the lotus feet of Narottam Das Thakur and accepted all the punishment given to him. Finally, the king became bewildered and saw his great devotion, and then he returned him to Narottam. When he returned to Narottam Das Thakur, Narottam told him, you make all your associate dacoits devotees of the Lord, which he did. Not long after that, Ramachandra Kaviraj desired to visit Srinivasacharya in Ketrigram. So they went together, and Ramachandra Kaviraj left the world. Srinivas felt great separation and went to the forest. Narottam was stunned in silence, receiving the news. And that's when he composed the famous song that we sing every time a great soul departs. Ye anilo premadhana karuna prachu Heno Kota Acharya Thakur. Heno Kota Gela Acharya Thakur. He glorifies all the great personalities. So Narottam, now he's stunned in silence, and he's feeling great separation. In separation, he contracted a high fever, and then he took Ganganarayan and others to Gambilar. 3 days he sat with a fever. Of course, his fever was due to separation from Ramachandra Kaviraj and also Srinivasacharya. Then he instructed that now it's time for me to leave the world. He instructed his disciples to set up a funeral pyre. Of course, it was very difficult, but he insisted. And so Narottam, Ganganarayan. So Narottam laid down on this bench, or you might say table, and it says that even before the funeral pyre began, he left the world. When he was laying there and his disciples were lamenting, some envious Brahmins who didn't like Narottam came, and they started to criticize Narottam in voices that could be heard by others. Ganganarayan became very much disturbed and started to pray. My dear Lord, how can we hear such things at the time of your auspicious departure? Please do something. Then, of course, the Brahmins, they said, yeah, he was born in a low-class family. Now he's getting the results of his activities for trying to teach Brahmanas. So Narottam did something. Although he had already left the world, he came back. And before he came back, a sacred thread appeared on his body. Everyone saw it. It was a golden thread. It was effulgent. The Brahmins were shocked. Narottam sat up and came back to life. And then they all surrendered to his lotus feet. And then there was a great festival. Prasadam was delivered and they received initiation. But Narottam wasn't happy staying in the world, feeling separation, first from Lord Chaitanya, now from his dear, dear associates. So he told, now it's a time for me to depart. So he told Ramakrishna and Ganganarayan to take him to the Ganga. So they walked to the Ganga and they carried some pots of milk under the instructions of Narottam. And Narottam said, now we will go into the Ganga. And I want you to massage me with Ganga water that is mixed with this milk. And throw this water on me. And no matter what you see, do not stop. This is a very difficult instruction for these disciples. But Narottam was insistent, and he came into the Ganga waist deep, and they were there with him. Mixing Ganga water with the milk, they started to sprinkle the milk on him. As the milk mixed with the Ganga water was hitting his body, that part of the body would disappear. Finally, he completed the bath and he completely disappeared. He was no longer visible to everyone. This disappearance Leela was amazing, one of its kind. No one had ever seen anything like this or experienced. Of course, there was only Ganganarayan and Ramakrishna to see it, but later they report it to everyone. And it's interesting because Narottam Das Thakur's service in the spiritual world as a manjari is to cook milk for Srimati Radharani and the other associates of Radharani. So this is a amazing disappearance of this great personality. So when we're speaking about Narottam Das Thakur, we're speaking about a person who is very, very exalted, a most intimate associate of Srimati Radharani, a very, very dear follower of Lord Chaitanya, who blessed him with the Shakti to revolutionize Kirtan. And of course, in our Gaudiya Vaishnava society, especially in ISKCON, we have the songs of the great acharyas. And in those songs, we find many, 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 many songs composed by Narottam Das Thakur and also sung. It is said that the songs composed by Narottam Das Thakur are pure Vedic Shastra. Just like we sing the song that we sing every day, Guru Vandanam. Sri Guru Charana Padman Kevala Bhakti Sadman Bando Muhi Sarvadana Mate Yanhara Prasade Bai E Baba Tadiyarai Krishna Prapti Hoite. And then of course at the end of the song, Lokanath Lokira Ajivan. So Narottam Das Thakur composed this song in glorification of his glorious spiritual master, Srila Lokanath Das Thakur. And this song, Srila Prabhupada has given a lecture on this song where he explains each of the lines in detail, explaining the philosophical meanings of these verses, which are very, very deep in the teachings of the conclusions of all Vedic Shastras. So Narottam Das Thakur has, and of course, Prema Bhakti Chandrika, which is a beautiful book written by Narottam Das Thakur, but later put into a book. And Parthana is a series of bhajans glorifying the Lord and his pure devotees. So Narottam Das Thakur has contributed so much to Vaishnava culture, Vaishnava tradition, and especially to our ISKCON society. Srila Prabhupada adapted and adopted the prayers and bhajans of Narottam Das Thakur along with the bhajans and prayers of Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur as our basic prayers in our songs. Practically all the songs we sing are either composed by Narottam Das Thakur or by Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur. So this personality, Srila Narottam Das Thakur, cannot be glorified enough. He is such a great personality. We read his writings, we sing his bhajans so deep in the mellows of separation from Lord Chaitanya and his associates. Therefore, the devotees should make it a regular thing, or a regular daily affair, to sing the prayers and also read the writings of Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Of course, there is a beautiful book called Narottam Vilas by Narahari Chakravarti, along with other books that have been written by about Narottam. Now, in our ISKCON society, one very exalted devotee, the wife of Srila, what's his name? Oh, no. Hari Sari Prabhu, who was the personal associate and assistant to Srila Prabhupada for many years, personal servant. She composed, her name was Sitala Davey, and she put together many of the writings of the Acharyas, which is mostly the work of Narahari Narahari Chakravarti. And she has put out a version of Narottam Vilas. Please read that book. It may be a little hard to read the book given by Narahari Chakravarti, but Sitala's book is so sweet, so deep. I was able to get a copy just before the actual book was released. I got the manuscript ahead of time, and that was many years ago. And I was reading one chapter every night because it was so absorbing and so sweet and so full of nectar that I only wanted to read one chapter because I didn't want to finish the book. Sometimes we have this experience that something is so nectar, we don't want to go through it fast. We want to relish it as long as we can. So this was my experience. And this experience happened naturally simply by reading this book, Narottam Vilas, as presented by my senior god sister, Sitala. And I think devotees, some devotees who are listening today probably have been exposed to this book. So I'm sure you know what I'm speaking of. Okay, we'll stop here and we'll see if there's anyone who would like to comment or question anything related to Srila Narottam Das Thakur.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, Dandavat Pranam. Thank you for the wonderful class, Maharaj. Maharaj, is the book available online? Can we order the book?
Radha Bhakti, are you online today? No, maybe she's not. She posted the information for getting the book just when I gave the class the other day. Here it is. Okay, from Indu, Barnes and Noble, The Glorious Life of Srila Narottam Das Thakur by Sitala Dasi. Yeah. So that's on the chat.
Okay, Maharaj, I'll copy it. Yeah, thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you. Dandavat Pranam.
Sugopi, Hare Krishna. How are you?
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Thank you so much for the wonderful lecture. I was going to ask, just like you mentioned, how Narottam Das Thakur took Kirtan to this new level and how he was so deep in his Kirtans. Sometimes our Kirtans can turn into performances and we may lack the proper mood to call out to Krishna. So I wanted to ask you if you could kindly talk about how we can develop a proper mood when we sing Kirtan.
The mood of Kirtan is devotion. In other words, just like we perform any activity in devotional service, it's meant to please Krishna. So Kirtan is an opportunity to glorify Krishna by glorifying Krishna in his holy name. So when we start thinking about, well, instruments, singing styles, and all these other things, and focus on that, then we get into a little bit of a performance type mood, which takes away the focus on the purpose of Kirtan, which is to glorify the Lord. So in order to avoid that, the best thing to do is keep yourself absorbed in hearing the Kirtan as the chanter is chanting, and to respond to the Kirtan in such a way that you become focused. In other words, the more we focused on the hearing and chanting, the more we'll get away from this mood of it's about me, or it's about some type of nice performance. And Prabhupada commented that. He said, we are not musicians, professional musicians. We are devotees of the Lord. But we want to make the kirtan nice. So it's always nice to have the proper mridanga playing, kartal playing, and everyone is working as a group to sing and glorify the Lord. But it's a matter of bringing your consciousness into the holy name.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Sugopi. Hare Krishna. Jai Ho. Anyone else?
Krishna Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to your holiness. Thank you for this wonderful lecture on the great personality Narottam Das Thakur. My question is about Kirtan, exactly what Sugopi was saying about how to present the Kirtan very nicely, even to very new people, because they're so used to sophisticated music system, sound system, instruments, this, that, and our very simple Kirtan with very basic instruments may come across as maybe amateurish or not up to the standard, and they may look down on us because of that. At the same time, of course, we want to do kirtan, give the holy name. So how should we balance all those things?
It's not a matter of balance. It's a matter of rejecting how people think. Don't worry about how people think. Just if you're glorifying, Prabhupada said, if you're glorifying Krishna in kirtan, it will impregnate the audience with devotion. That's the words of Prabhupada. That's the exact words. He said, if we are glorifying Krishna and we're absorbed in that, that will have the power to impregnate the audience with Krishna consciousness, whoever the audience may be. We don't have to adhere to anyone's, standards. Our standards should be the standards given to us by Srila Prabhupada and by the senior devotees. Why do we have to worry about how people think? The kirtan should be nice in the sense that everyone should sing together and play together. But how that expression is given, this should be very simple. Okay. Now, we may go for outside audiences. Sometimes we use a little extra instrumentation, and that's been done like that. But that's, it's not something that we do in order to impress the audience. It just fits into the situation. So. But it's about instrumentation. It's not about anything else. So we might use a veena. We might use a, sometimes we also include other instruments.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj. That was very helpful, actually.
Okay. Any other questions from the general devotees in New Jersey? Is it New Jersey? No, I'm sorry, not New Jersey, but in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sugopi, you're from New Jersey now, right?
We live in Connecticut now, Maharaj.
You're in Connecticut. Oh, wow. I hope you're happy there.
Yes, Maharaj. More happy than Boise.
That's good. Anyone else? Narottam Das Thakur.
Hare Krishna, dear Raj, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. I was very excited when I saw that you are going to speak about Narottam Das Thakur, and thank you so much for giving us so many nice points about the lecture. Thank you so much, Maharaj. I hope your health is doing good now. It is so nice to see you.
Thank you, Mamata. Mamta.
Yes, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
My health is stable.
Okay, that's good.
Thank you, Maharaj, for your valuable time and association.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
look forward when I can meet everybody again. But
Yeah,
Yes.
we are meeting you, Maharaj, in Charlotte. We want you to be in Charlotte.
I also want to get there. You look cold. Are you cold?
Yeah, I am having little cold, so.
Oh, be careful. Take a lot of vitamin C.
Yes,
and a lot of ginger.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you all. And we'll see you again next Friday.
Yeah. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much. And Maharaj, we are doing Vrajamandal Parikrama after the class. So every day we go one places, one day, like they do in 30 days Parikrama. So we are doing for the whole month. So
Wonderful. You're visiting Vrindavan.
yes, Maharaj. Virtually we are visiting.
Virtual is becoming reality now.
Yes,
Virtual
Maharaj.
reality.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you everyone for joining here. So we can offer obeisances to Maharaj. Vancham kalparubhishya kripa sindhu evacha patitanam bhavnebhyo vaishvebhyo namo namaha anant koti vaishvandi ki jai. Srila Narottam Das Thakur ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Candramauli Swami Maharaj ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for the wonderful association.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
So now
Hare
we will
Krishna.
move forward to our next
Thank you, Maharaj.
program for the Vrajamandal Parikrama. So I would
Thank
like
you,
to hand over
Maharaj.
the
Dandavat
call
Pranam.
to
Hare
Dandavat Maharaj. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Her Grace Padma Sakhi Mataji. So Mataji, please take over and bring us to Shridham Vrindavan.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. So is by the time Padma Sakhi Mataji arranges her all presentation and everything, I want to answer the yesterday's question. Is Sukhasagiri Mataji is there? Hare Krishna. Yeah. Okay. Should I answer the yesterday's question, because she was asking why the DT's name is Shantanu Bihari, right?
Yes, Mataji, please answer, Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. So Shantanu Bihari means who gives santan. Santan means the child, the people who don't, they are married and don't have children. So they go there and Krishna gives them children, whatever and not just children, they will be like Krishna conscious. And they will be pretty much, powerful. So Shantanu Maharaj, he went there and he did tapasya to get the son who will be like empowered with
with lot of knowledge and lot of power, and he can rule the world. So like that, so that's how he got the Bhishma Dev. His name was Devavrata, and they were like 8 Vasus, and they were, you all might be knowing this story in yeah, in the Swargaloka. There was a king, means he was in the dynasty of Ikshvaku. His name is Mahavish and Ganga, and they looked at each other, and Indra took offense and gave the curse that you go and take birth in the, you become a human being like that. So all the Vasus and the Devabrat was the 8th Vasu, and Ganga was like killing all her children, and 7 got killed, and 8th one was the Bhishma Dev. So like that, the story is there. So that's how Shantanu, and another meaning of the Shantanu is Shanta, means who is like a very pleasing. So when Shantanu was born, he was a baby. Whoever sees him, he will become young. The old person sees him, he will become young, and the person who is about to die will see him, he will not die. So like that, that's why. So he was uh, Shanta. So that's why it's called Shantanu. Okay. That's what I wanted to tell. Thank you, Mataji. You can start.
Thank you, Shamagori Mataji. Today, sorry, I have a problem with the video. That's why maybe I can just share the screen and talk. So yesterday, because Mataji asked, even I was hearing all the YouTube trying to see, but I don't know Hindi as good as you. I was saying why it is called Shantanu Bihari. Why I tried to hear, but thank you for answering, Mataji.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. So today we will be going from Shantanu Kund to Radha Kund. To Radha Kund, but we will not be going to Radha Kund yet. It's on the way. So before we start, we'll take blessings of Shri Gauranga, Shri Nityananda, Srimati Radharani, Shri Krishna, and all the devotees. And we will start. So Shamagori Mataji has explained very nicely about Shantanu Kund. So today we will be starting. Sorry, somehow the book picture, I think. So Shantanu Kund and Shantanu Bihari Mandir is here. From there, this is our route today. We'll go to Ganashara, Kechri, then Bahulavan, then Ral, then Basati, then Radha Kund. So we will stop somewhere here in the camp today. From tomorrow, we will be entering Radha Kund. To enter Radha Kund, we have to enter Govardhan. So that will be tomorrow's. So as we go, we have this Ganashra village. This is known for lot of flowers. All the Vrajavasis grew varieties of flowers here for the pleasure of Krishna. And Krishna applies the perfumes, scents at this place. And there is also Gandharva Kund. We know Gandharvas are not from this earthly planet. So the heavenly denizens, they come regularly to bath in the Gandharva Kund. And at Ganashara, we have this deities. This is the temple, small temple that we see there. And now coming to the Ketrigram, this was the place where Putana came. This was her place. She, her brothers, Agasura, they were all born at this place. So Kechri means a witch who can fly. And we all know that when Putana came, in fact, she came like a bird, like she was flying. Then in her previous life, who was Putana? So quickly seeing the history, I know many of us on the call know the history of Putana. So Putana was the daughter of Bali Maharaj. She is Ratnamala. And what happened was when she saw that Bali Maharaj and Vamanadev's episode during that time, when Vamanadev was coming, like she felt like he was so, how we feel so good when we see small children. We feel like sometimes we feel when we see cute little children, oh, maybe, wow, I wish. Sometimes when I see cute little girls, I always think like, I wish I have a girl like that. So what happened? Ratnamala was also thinking, wow, he's so nice. Maybe she felt like motherly affectionate, thinking like maybe I will have that kind of baby one day and I can feed milk nicely, take care of him. But after she sees the whole episode where, Bali Maharaj was bounded by Vamanadev and all that happened, then what happened? She feels very angry and she will be very upset, and she will think, if I had a son like that, I will poison my milk and feed him. So Krishna, that's why we should be very careful with our desires. We should be very, very careful. Every desire is, noted. So now Krishna wants to fulfill a desire that, this lifetime, when she came as Putana, she tried to poison her milk and feed him. But because she had the motherly affection, Krishna, out of his compassion, gave her the that role in Goloka after she leaves her body. Actually, Putana was how big? She was 12 miles big, so huge that when Putana came as a beautiful lady, and all the Vrajavasis were thinking she is not from this planet, she must be some heavenly being. And after all that episode happened, Krishna started sucking her life air, and then when she actually started showing her original form, she was 12 miles, so huge. And Krishna didn't change his form, he was still like that tiny baby. So they literally had to search for Krishna. And then because the Vrajavasis were thinking she might come back to life, just like snakes sometimes come back to life, they had to cut her into pieces and burn her in fire. So after that, our Krishna is always very compassionate, so she's like a nurse in Goloka for Krishna. And now there's an important lesson here. So Putana represents false guru. So we should be very, very careful in the parampara that we choose. There are so many, like how Prabhupada used to chastise, false gurus, saying, like literally a lot of chastisement. He would say, rascal. He was very heavy on false gurus. So we should be very, very careful in choosing the parampara. Evam parampara praptam. So that is one lesson we have to learn from Putana. Then going forward from Ketrigram, we'll see a place called Mayurvan. It's a very small village, not very well known. So in this place, this is the place where once the peacocks asked Krishna to play flute, and they circled him and danced. Then in ecstasy, Krishna also started dancing with them. When peacock with gratitude offered him feathers, and Krishna took one feather and he kept it on his turban. So after we cross the Mayurvan, then we go to Bahulavan. So Bahulavan is it's one of the biggest forest out of the 12 forests of Vrindavan. And we very well know the story of that Bahula cow in Little Krishna, that very nice story. But as I was looking for some information, so there were 2-3 versions that I heard from authorized speakers only, like from Dinabandhu Prabhu, Loknath Maharaj, His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj, His Holiness Loknath Swami Maharaj, His Grace Dinabandhu Prabhu. So there are 2 versions of stories. Then it could be maybe the Kalpa Beda. We know that in different Kalpas, many like every Kalpa, all these pastimes will be happening, and there might be little bit different changes. So that is why I found like 2 different versions. So one is, we know that so this place actually says that we will go further. Then I think I kept that slide. No. Okay. First, let's finish the story then. Okay. So we know Bahula cow is there. Then she goes to fetch water. She just delivered a baby calf. Then the tiger catches Bahula cow, and then Bahula has been requesting, please leave me. I need to feed my milk to my baby. Look, she'll be pleading. Then somehow the tiger is inspired to give the Bahula cow a chance. So he will say, okay, you go back and come tomorrow. Then Bahula thinks, okay, I will hand over my baby to my sister, feed my milk, and then come back. Then after Bahula actually comes back, then what happens was Krishna comes to save Bahula. Then when Krishna started playing flute, Yamaraj comes in the place of tiger. Then Yamaraj says, I just came to test your honesty. In fact, there is a depiction in a small temple that is there in Bahula 1. There is a small diorama also, like with Yamaraj, then there is a cow, then there is Krishna. So that picture is also depicted in the temple in the form of diorama. Then after that, because Bahula was very honest, that forest has been named after Bahula as Bahula 1. So that is one version. And the other version that I heard was, so once there were two Gandharvas by name Huhu and Haha. So Gandharvas, we know they're very good at dancing, playing music. Then so what happens? There is once Narada Muni, when all the devatas are assembled and when these Gandharvas are performing, Narada Muni goes with Pipalayana Rishi. He goes with Pipalayana Rishi, and then all the demigods will immediately come and offer their respects to Pipalayana Rishi, apart from these two Gandharvas. Then he gets very upset, he gets mad, and he curses them, saying that you will take birth in the earth planet. Then immediately the Gandharvas will say, oh, you are a sage, so you will know, you can understand, what is happening in our heart. So please deeply think and see if we really gave you respect or not. So this Pipalayana Rishi will try to, meditate and see. Then he will understand when he starts meditating that actually in their heart, the Gandharvas were showing respect, though they didn't stop their playing music and dancing. So then he will feel bad that, I did this mistake. So what I will do is I will go to the earth planet, and he will say that since Narada Muni didn't stop me, he will go to the earth planet. And since Mother Bhumi Mata is witnessing, she will also come to the earth planet. So Bhumi Mata took birth as the cow, and the Rishi took birth as the cowherd who was herding this cow. And Haha took birth as the tiger, and Narada Muni took birth as the calf. So then what happened? They took birth. So after that, then when they take birth, this whole pastime, that day was a Nirjala Ekadashi, and the Bahula cow was doing Nirjala, and in the middle of the night, she gave birth, not late in the night, she gave birth to the calf, and she was feeling so tired and very thirsty. So she was looking for the water. That is when this the attack has happened. Then she will be pleading like, I will come tomorrow. Then the tiger lets him go, and then next day the tiger, then when the Bahula cow goes back and Krishna starts playing the flute, when he comes to rescue the Bahula cow, that is when they will reveal their identities as Narada Muni, as we know that Huhu, he has been born as the crocodile in the Gajendra Moksha pastime. So they will all reveal their identities. So these are the stories about Bahulavan, and in Bahulavan there is Sankarshan Kund also. And in fact, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Bahulavan, what happened? And I forgot to say. So this Bahula later came in the Dwarka Leela as Krishna's queen. So when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Bahulavan, actually these animals, when they looked at him, it is mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita that they were thinking like he looks like our Lord, like, you know, but with a golden complexion though. So they surrounded around him, they were licking him. You know, the plants are also like, you know, how the plants, the trees have big branches, and they were looking like hands, and they were full of blooming flowers, and they, when they were, you know, drooping down, touching Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is what it was, as if they were offering flowers with their hands. And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also was feeling ecstatic, and he was saying, chant Krishna, and even the animals were repeating when he was saying that. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually came to Bahulavan also. And from Bahulavan, we will be seeing a small village called Basati. We know Basati means residence. So what happened was, Vrishabhanu Maharaj moved from Raval to Barsana. So they decided to move, and at the same time, Nanda Maharaj also decided to move from Gokul Mahavan, because lots of demons are coming. Then what happened? They were going in the bullock carts, taking all the Vrajavasis, they were taking their food, their clothes, everything they were going, and they will stop at certain places, right, as they are going. Then they did a camp at Chatikara. So this Chatikara village is also in between Govardhan and Yamuna. Then what happened? At this Vasati, Vrishabhanu Maharaj had stopped his camp, and at Chatikara, Nanda Maharaj had stopped his camp. And from Chatikara, the camp was so, like, because there were lots of bullock carts, it has extended all the way till Ral. And where is this Ral? This Ral is in between Chatikara and Radhakund. So both the camps actually were at the same time stopped at these different places. And now Chatikara has a very nice, beautiful pastime also. So what happened was, and this place Chatikara, this place is 2 kilometers from Radhakund, on the road between Radhakund and Chatikara. So it is in between Radhakund. As we are going to Radhakund, we will pass through all these different places. The place where I'm saying Ral, if you see in the map also, it is exactly in between Radhakund and Bahulavan. So this is Bahulavan, and Ral is exactly in the center. So Basati is where our Vrishabhanu Maharaj stopped his camp. And Chatikara is the place where our Nanda Maharaj had stopped his camp, and it has extended all the way till Ral. Then in Chatikara, what is Chatikara? Chatikara is also called as Shakatikara or Shakatavarta. We know Shakata means cart, and Avarta means a circle shape. So what did they do when they stopped there? They kept their carts in a circular position, in a circle, and they kept all these thorny bushes around the carts so that it protects the kids and the Vrajavasis in the center. So they were staying in the center, and the carts were placed in a circular position. That's why it is called as Shakatikara or Shakatavrita or Chatikara. I have actually been to this place very recently, so I remember this very well. And here there is Garuda Govinda temple. I have been to this place also. So why there is Garuda and Govinda Dev temple? So this is Garudji. So what happens was, this is a beautiful pastime. We know that because of the Shaubari Muni's curse, Garuda cannot enter into actually the Seva Kunj, that area where there is Kalia Ghat, and that exactly inside Vrindavan, that place Garuda cannot enter. So he used to visit Chatikara. So what happened was, in Ram Leela, when Meghanath, with the snakes, he tied Lakshmana and Rama. That time Hanuman had to come. Hanuman brings Garuda and says, you have to scare these snakes. So when Garuda comes, and he will, as soon as Garuda comes, we know that the snakes will be there no more. Then Garuda actually will think, is Ram the Supreme Personality of Godhead? Because if Ram is Supreme Personality of Godhead, why will he lead me? He could have done it by himself. So again, in the Krishna Leela, Garuda, once he sees Krishna playing with, Krishna used to play in Chatikara. Actually, Krishna was there in Gokul Mahavan for 3 years 4 months. Again in Chettikara, he was there for 3 years 4 months. So then he used to play with Radharani's brother Sridham. They used to play like, you know, cowherd boys. Then Sridham used to act like Garuda, and Krishna used to sit on him. So they used to play all like this. Then one day when Garuda sees, he will think, is he the Supreme Personality of Godhead? He's just playing, just like Brahma got bewildered, he got bewildered, playing normally. Then Krishna will understand his heart, and immediately he will show his Vishnu form. He will go and jump on Garuda, and he will have a ride with Garuda, and he will say that. So that's how Garuda's confusion, bewilderment, he erased. And he said, like, here there will be a temple with your name first. So that's why Garuda Govinda there. Vajranabh has established this temple and deity. So on Akshaya Tritiya, you can see the full form of Garuda Govinda in Vrindavan. Without cloth, he is sitting like, maybe you can see Garuda like this. Otherwise, if you see here, he's in dress. But here, no. So that is about Chettikara Garuda Govinda temple. And then there is again a small village as we keep going towards Radhakund. There is this Mukharai village of Mukhara. We know Mukhara is the maternal grandmother of Radharani. And in fact, Radharani used to ask Vrishabhanu, like, who is my grandmother? I want to visit her. Then Vrishabhanu said, like, Mukhara, and she would visit. And there is a very small temple here at Mukhara Gram. Radharani, Kirtida, and Mukhara Devi are there here. And in fact, Radharani, we know that she used to do Surya Puja at Surya Kund. Why Surya Kund is there? This is Surya Kund. Because all the demigods came to know that Krishna is coming on to the earth planet. They wanted to have his darshan. So this is the place where Surya Bhagavan actually did the... he wanted to come and see him, so he came here. That is why in that related to that pastime, there is Surya Kund here. And so we know Radharani visits Surya Kund, and one day she loses her bangles at Surya Kund. Then her grandmother Mukhara will ask, where is your bangle? Then she will remember that she forgot at Surya Kund, but Krishna finds the bangle and gets in, give it to her. So this is the place where sun god performed the tapasya. So there is one Surya Narayana Mandir here, and this is the Surya Narayana deity, and this is the Surya Kund, and this is the village of the Surya Kund, and this is the temple. These were all posted by Indradyumna Swami Maharaj in 2017 or 18. And this is Surya Kund. These are the beautiful Vrajvasis, the Vrajvasi kids. And so Raghav Pandit, he says this, he quotes this in Bhakti Ratnakar. It is said, just see the deity of Surya Dev and Surya Mandir in this forest. This deity of Surya Dev is very merciful. Sorry for the spelling mistake. And awards love of Krishna. Who can describe his glories and who will not worship him? So he mentions that these are some pictures, and from here we will actually walk towards Radha Kund, and that will be tomorrow. So thank you all. Shri Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Any corrections, please tell me. And Matajis, if you have some time, I have a 5-minute video. Can I, if you think it's okay, I want to play.
You can go ahead, Mataji. I have doctor's appointment, so I'm going there. So you can start video.
Okay, Mataji. And I will make sure that I have to play our audio today. Okay. I will play first Kumudvan. Yesterday, remember in Kumudvan, there is the Padma Kund, lot of lilies are there, and there is small Kapila Muni's temple. So we will see that today. I'll be a little bit forwarding. Where is